Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Bleacher Preacher podcast. It is opening day in Major League Baseball. Today is Rob. How you doing, man?
What up?
It is Rob, and I'm John, and we are very excited to welcome back Major League Baseball. That winter low without baseball, man. Sometimes it drags on. Free agency's a dud now the past couple seasons, so we're just happy to have live baseball here. First pitch is going to be here in the next few hours. But unfortunately, our teams are starting on the road because we like to not have good weather in the Northeast and Midwest. So, going to be a bit of a weird start for the Red Sox and Cubbies. So, we're going to run down some notable storylines, players, teams we're looking forward to this season. We're going to go division by division here, give things we like, looking forward to, all that fun stuff, and other news and notes from Major League Baseball. So, without further ado, let's start off in the National League East. A lot of moving in that division alone as Bryce Harper, as we discussed in an early episode, decides to sign a mega deal with the Philadelphia Phillies. Phillies were already a pretty young, good-looking team, and now they add one of the best young superstars in the game. Do you now see the Phillies as serious World Series contenders?
I don't think they're contenders for the World Series, and I don't think they win the division. My pick is still Atlanta. I think Atlanta's the best team in that division. The Phillies are close, but I still think Atlanta's going to build on what they did last year. I like the additions that they made this offseason with Josh Donaldson adding to the middle of that lineup. And then with the Braves, the one thing is their pitching, the farm system pitching is starting to reach the majors, and it's looking good. Kyle Wright, one of their top picks from Vanderbilt, is starting the season in the rotation. Bryce Wilson, one of their first-round picks, starting the season in the rotation. And that's not even to mention Touki Toussaint is not in the rotation yet. And he's got one of the nastiest breaking balls in the league, period. So, I mean, Mike Soroka is still there. Luis Gohara. There's still a lot of young guys there that can make this rotation good and that can also help the bullpen. Mike Fultonevich is hurt. He had a very good season last year. He may miss a start to start the season. We don't know yet. They might miss 2 weeks, something like that. We're not sure. But Fultonevich and Julio Teheran and the young guys to go ahead with that offense that Atlanta has. I love Atlanta in this division.
And what was the surprise last year? Now the Braves are carrying over to being now favorites. We're going to see them, have a bigger, brighter spotlight on them. And we saw the hot season that Ronald Acuna had. Ozzie Albies was a terror on the base paths. That 1-2 punch right there alone. And then, like you said, they added Josh Donaldson. They have already had a solid core to begin with. They got better this offseason, but not to be discounted. The Nationals still don't look like an easy out. And for right now, until they go full Mets again, the Mets are still going to be scrappy. They have some decent ball players.
The best part of the offseason is watching the Mets make a ton of moves to finish in fourth. That's great. That is awesome to see because the Mets are just going to bet,
They at least locked up Jacob deGrom, so that is a smart thing to do, which, goes against the Mets ideology. But the biggest detriment, obviously, for the Mets is, are they going to have health again, and will they be able to get some breaks along the way? Because now you're looking at a stronger Philadelphia team, a scary Atlanta team, what I feel is going to be a scrappy Washington team, and then there's Miami. But Miami's going to be Miami.
Yeah, Miami is going to win 60 games maybe.
The Marlins have never won the NL East. Never.
Yeah, they're all their World Series championships were wild cards.
Wild cards.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
To move back and talk about the Nationals, I think their lineup and their offense is going to be as good as it was the prior years. I think Juan Soto's the next breakout player that they're going to have. I think Adam Eaton, finally healthy, hopefully, is going to give them a little boost. Trey Turner is probably going to be their all-star. He's a terror on the base paths. He might steal 60 bases, barring health. Rendon is there. Rendon still needs an extension. And then going 1, 2, 3 with Corbin going with Scherzer and going with Strasburg is going to give you a lot of depth. Just you're going to be in games because they're going to come out and they're going to just only allow 1, 2, 3 runs, and you're going to have a chance to win those games. And then touching on the Mets, a couple of guys that I wanted to mention, Brandon Nimmo and Michael Conforto, I think are going to be a couple of breakout guys that I like.
There's been a lot of chatter about Conforto finally having the year where he can, have it all come together for him, because he's had flashes, but sadly the body hasn't held up the way that the team had hoped. Once he gets that chance, I think he's going to be able to contribute and be an everyday player for their lineup. So who was the other player they got? They also brought in Edwin Diaz in that Cano trade as well.
Hopefully their bullpen doesn't just, destroy DeGrom starts anymore. Edwin Diaz, Juris Familia in the back half of that bullpen. DeGrom can actually go 7, 8 innings and not worry that as soon as he goes out, the bullpen's going to give up 12 runs.
And then when they obviously have Syndergaard right behind him, but I also like Zach Wheeler as their number 3. And Steven Matz, is Steven Matz still there?
Steven Matz is still there. Steven Matz has been battling health issues.
It's somewhat there, but again, it's always going to be the Mets. So
Jason Vargas is their number 5.
He's still in the league?
Yeah.
Wow. And then I started off talking about the Phillies, but they did actually fill in some holes in the offseason too, along with, Bryce Harper. Gene Segura comes in. He's probably going to take over their leadoff spot. Andrew McCutchen, he got a nice little payday to go there, maybe a little too much, even though he's a little bit past his prime years. I think he's going to be a decent ad. Rhys Hoskins continues to show promise. They locked up Cy Young candidate Aaron Nola. They also still have Jake Arrieta in their rotation, and the name of one of their young guys will slip. Nick Pivetta.
Pivetta.
He's going to be a nice year.
They got a lot of good guys there. With the Phillies, I think they're going to be in the race until the end. I think like all 3 facets of their team, like their offense, their defense, their rotation, as well as their bullpen, like they're got A+ players in every facet of there, and I'm excited to see what the Phillies like. It's a lot of like in the NFL, you see teams like 1-year deal, 2-year deals, like the Phillies did it, or not the Philadelphia Eagles did it, and then the Rams did it this year, where they're trying to just get all these big names and get all these top players and try to make everything work just this 1-2 years. I know baseball is a little bit different because of long contracts and no salary cap and whatnot, but that seems like what the Phillies kind of did for getting Segura, getting McCutchen, trading for JT Realmuto, going out and signing David Robertson, signing Bryce Harper. It's a lot in one season that I don't think like that gelling factor is going to happen this season. Is what I think is going to happen with the Phillies.
I think there will be growing pains at times. When we look at the manager, Gabe Kapler, I know he did have some gaff ups at times last season, but this is going to be a lot for them to juggle. And we mentioned the Braves and how they're kind of like stepping into a year where they're expected to have success. The Phillies really haven't had that since their, title days back in the late 2000s. So we'll have to see how they adjust going forward. So
I have a couple of big questions. You get to take one pitcher from this division, and you get to take one hitter from this division. Who are you taking?
Hitter, I'm going with Ronald Acuna Jr. Pitcher, give me Jacob deGrom.
So you still have Scherzer, Strasburg, Syndergaard, Nola. Nola, I think, is going to win the Cy Young this year. I like Nola.
Oh, he absolutely filthy. He didn't get enough credit for last year and how good he was.
Just because of how good deGrom and Scherzer was.
Yeah, damn, I'm not even the best pitcher in my own division. Never mind the league.
Yeah, and then hitter-wise, Acuna is a good shout. I think I take his teammate, though, Freddie Freeman. I think Freeman's going to –
Again, he's one of those guys that goes unnoticed there because the two young studs stand out to me. Wow, yeah, looking good.
Yeah, and then like Bryce Harper's in the division. Normally, you just take Bryce Harper 10 times out of 10, but in that division, like even Donaldson's going to be so far down the list, even though how good he is, whatnot. Cano's in that division now. Man, division Is that division the best division in baseball? You're probably gonna have 4 teams fighting for the division title.
I was gonna say up and down. I think that's the most quality, and I think some of the deepest teams, and probably the race we're gonna follow, closely. Just looking at the AL side, it's very top heavy. Like you have 3, maybe 4 good teams, and the rest is mediocre at best. There's 4 good teams right now in the NL East alone.
Who do you have winning?
I think it's going to come down to the last week. I'm going to say the Braves win the division by 3 games.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Braves. Like I said earlier, I think the Phillies are going to go ahead and get the wild card at one of the wild cards. But I don't think
I could see the Mets probably tailing off in July, and then maybe the Nationals just falling a little bit short. They just don't have the same punch to hang with the other 2.
I think both those teams win 80 games, and they're above 500, and they're in the wild card race. But I just think the Braves probably settle around like 94, while the Phillies settle around like 89, 90.
I feel that's right. So, NL East going to be a fun division this year. Let's go to the NL Central, home of the Chicago Cubs, and one of their biggest rivals make some big moves this offseason. We see Paul Goldschmidt land in St. Louis. We see the Milwaukee Brewers come off an NLCS appearance. God knows what's happening in Cincinnati. And then there's the Pirates. So, from the enemy standpoint of view, you watch a lot of NL Central baseball. What's your take right now on the biggest threat to the Cubs to getting back to the NLCS?
So if I go team by team, the Brewers, I think, take a step back. A lot of their guys had career years last year. Their rotation is still subpar, and their dominant bullpen lost Joakim Soria. Joakim Soria is not on that team anymore. Jeffries has injury scares. Knebel has injury scares. You can't throw Hader out there every day for 2-3 innings plus. That's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. And then I think they fall back. I think they're going to be their best team in the league, or their best team in the division. The Brewers are. As far as the Cardinals, I think the Cardinals are going to be the toughest competition, depending on if they get their rotation intact. Carlos Martinez still has an injury scare. Carlos Martinez is healthy. That makes the rotation a lot better. Dakota Hudson starting in the rotation. I think Wainwright's still there. He's the 5th starter. Jack Flaherty and Miles Mikolas are the 2 guys that they're thinking of being their number 1 and 2. Jack Flaherty is still a young guy. He was coming off a rookie season last year. Who knows if he takes the next step? Does he regress because teams learn how he wants to get people out and how they learn how to attack him? Who knows? If he takes the next step, he'll be fine. I think he'll be number 2, number 3 guy. Miles Mikolas came from Japan last season to win 18 games. I don't know if that was a fluke, if Japan taught him how to throw his curveball different, but I don't know if that's going to be an 18-game winner again. With a sub-3 ERA making an all-star team, I don't know if Miles Mikolas is going to do that. So I still have questions about the rotation. The offense is going to be fine. St. Louis' offense is really good. Goldschmidt's really good. Marcelo Ozuna, I love. Dexter Fowler is still there. Even though Dexter Fowler has completely fallen off the map, I still love Dexter Fowler. Carpenter, Salsa, whatever. It's still a good team. I just don't think they're as talented, but I think they're the biggest threat to the Cubs. The Reds are going to be better. I think the Reds win 80 games. I like what the Reds are doing. They're, Votto is good. Eugenio Suarez is good. Jose Peraza is really good. Scooter Geno got hurt. He's going to miss 3 months, but, he's good. I hate that they took their top prospect, Nick Senzel, who is a infielder. They tried him out at center field. He raked all spring training, and then they sent him down, even with the Scooter Geno injury. Their pitching is a little bit better. Rachel Iglesias is a very strong closer. I love him. That's a guy that is solid, probably a top 10 closer in the league. The Pirates are the Pirates. Good back end of the bullpen. Keone Kela, Felipe Vasquez, they're shut down guys pretty much in the back. Archer, Jameson, Taillon are probably going to be the 1-2 there. Taillon's got a really No, not James and Tayon. Who's the guy there?
No, you're right, Tayon.
Tayon. There's another guy. There's another guy with a really, really good curveball that's young. I don't remember his name, but he. I would have to look it up, but I think Pittsburgh finishes last. If I have to rank it, I go Cubs, Cardinals as tier 1, Brewers tier 2 with the Reds and Pirates tier 4. But the Reds and the Pirates are closer to Milwaukee than Milwaukee is to the Cubs and Cardinals.
So just from the outsider's standpoint of view, I think you hit the Milwaukee thing perfectly, is that you had so many guys hit their stride at the perfect time for them. And it wasn't necessarily sustainable because they did catch fire, August, September going into the playoffs. And it did include Christian Yelich having to put up career numbers. It did require Lorenzo Cain to be, a solid contributor. Never mind the fact the Brewers had some of the worst defensive ratings that baseball's seen in the past couple of years. And they had guys just completely out of positions that they weren't playing. I think I saw Travis Shaw at second base for a few games. So they're just taking the attitude of, just play ball, boys, and whatever happens, happens.
The good news about that is Travis Shaw is back at third to stay, but Mike Moustakas is now the second baseman.
Another lifetime third baseman playing a completely different position, but, what's defensive ratings nowadays? I also see the Brewers as a team that should probably either look into bringing in Dallas Keuchel or Craig Kimbrel, who, as of today, are yet to sign with the team, because they could use that extra depth to help out.
If the Brewers sign Keuchel and Craig Kimbrel to 1-year deals, they'd probably be the favorites in the Central.
I just don't get why they haven't done anything along that lines.
Well, that's probably $40 million in salary that they would add this year, thereabouts. So that's probably why they haven't done it yet.
I know you have a very good, strong hatred for that team and what they stand for, so those will be fun games to keep track of. When I also think about how the Cardinals had to improve this offseason, it's hard to not love them going after Paul Goldschmidt, but hitting in a different park in a different market can sometimes take a little bit of adjusting. So I don't know if he's going to exactly come out the gates on fire. And it's not that I don't like St. Louis's lineup. I just don't like how deep it is. I feel like there's a good drop off after the Goldschmidt Ozuna. And yeah, Carpenter's all right. DeYoung is still a pretty good hitting shortstop, but how reliable are these guys?
I mean, Goldschmidt is probably the best first baseman in this division, and this division houses Joey Votto and it houses Anthony Rizzo. So that's how much I do respect Goldschmidt, because I haven't seen him in a Cardinals uniform yet. I've seen him in a Diamondbacks uniform his whole career, and he's a really good player. I think his hitting is going to translate to Bush. Marcell Ozuna had a down year last season, transitioning from that Marlins stadium and, living in sunny Florida, Miami, to going to St. Louis. He did have a transition period, but I think Marcell Ozuna bounces back. I don't think Carpenter is going to have as good of an offensive season as he did last season. I think that was just his power just came out of nowhere. And his power came out of nowhere after the All-Star break. He didn't really do anything before the All-Star break. So I still think they have a really good lineup, though. I think Harrison Bader is somebody that hasn't really been talked about that's probably going to open some eyes this year. He's a good defensive center fielder, and he's got good speed. I think he's going to sit the table. And then, Tyler O'Neill's, super jacked. That's all I got. He's super jacked. I don't know. Maybe he can hit the ball far. I don't know.
He's got physique. You can't teach that.
Yeah, I mean, he's jacked.
Okay, so that's the enemies. What about the Cubbies, bud? What are we thinking for this year?
Their rotation can go either one or two ways. Their rotation remains completely healthy and is the best rotation in the NL, or the age just catches up. The Yu Darvish injuries linger. Jose Quintana continues to regress. Cole Hamels shows his 35 plus. John Lester shows his 35 plus. That's the doomsday plot. of the rotation, but I still think that that rotation is probably going to fall somewhere in the top 10 of all Major League Baseball, barring health. The bullpen is it's deeper, but there's a lot of injuries. Strope is back. He's going to start the season on the team, so that's a good health. Morrow is going to miss the first month, which kind of sucks. That's a team that if they went out and signed Craig Kimbrell would like relieve so much nausea and headache and just worry at the end of the games. But I don't think they're going to spend that money. So it's got to come from somewhere. So like C.J. Edwards needs to step up and turn into a dominant guy out of the bullpen. Cishek is still there, but he got overworked last year. They added Brad Grock, who has mono, and they had to like take some of his money away and rework his contract because like he has mono, which came up with the physical and nobody knew. So, I mean, the bullpen's still kind of hectic, kind of a worry. We'll see how it shakes things out. The guys are going to have career years out of nowhere from the bullpen. Bullpen guys, I feel like you can find guys that'll come off the street and just throw 60 innings and throw like a 2.5 ERA and just like, wow, that guy was really helpful this year. So, bullpen, you can find out. I still think they have the deepest lineup. Javi Baez is a MVP runner-up. Chris Bryant won an MVP. Anthony Rizzo has multiple MVP top 5 finishes. That's a deep lineup right there. Wilson Contreras, Kyle Schwarber needs to be better, and I think they both are going to take step forwards, and they've both probably are going to make the All-Star game, in my opinion. It's Schwarber and Contreras. Those are the guys that I'm priming to have a big year.
So it sounds like you're pretty optimistic for the Cubs this year, as always, but things seem to be lining up for them to kind of make another deeper title run. Last year, injuries were a big problem. So the Cubs are my pick to win the Central. I know they're your pick as well. We'll do the same thing. Who are you taking as a hitter and a pitcher out of this division?
As a pitcher, I'd probably take Kyle Hendricks for the next 10 years, pretty much. I don't think I'd take anybody else. If there was a pitcher that, like, if you say, all right, start your team right now, take a pitcher from this division, I'd probably take either one of Jack Flaherty or Hunter Green from the Reds farm system, where Hunter Green is like, he hasn't even made his major league debut yet. So maybe, yeah. As far as a hitter-wise, I think I'd take Chris Bryant. Javi Baez is your flash. Christian Yelich won MVP. Joey Votto has an MVP. Paul Goldschmidt is a top 5 MVP candidate. I don't think we've seen the best Chris Bryant. I think he's going to be on a mission this year, and he's going to have a really strong season this season. I think Chris Bryant's the guy that I take.
I'm going to have to go with Joey Votto as my hitter. No disrespect to anyone else. I just feel his discipline and his ability to hit to all fields doesn't get enough credit. And pitching-wise, I'll always have a soft spot for Mr. Jonathan Lester.
Joey Votto is so good at hitting. He doesn't even pop up to the first baseman ever. I think he's never done that in his career. How do you never pop fly to a first baseman or a pitcher? That makes no sense.
As a lefty, nonetheless.
Exactly.
He's never early, never off the wrong foot. But all right, so let's head out west. So the NL West has the 2-time NL defending champs in the Los Angeles Dodgers. We have the aging, looking broken San Francisco Giants. The helter-skelter team that is the Colorado Rockies. The God knows what's going on, the Arizona Diamondbacks. And then a sneaky, sneaky team in a sunny San Diego that signed Manny Machado. So let's start in San Diego. They make the big splash. They bring in Manny Machado out of nowhere. And they've already had one of the deepest farm systems in the majors. And they're going to start the year by bringing up young stud Fernando Tatis Jr. And we really both love that move enough to kind of think, wait a minute. Is this team really going to make a push for the division title? And then you look at the rest of the division, it's up for grabs right now. Anybody's.
So looking at the competition for San Diego, Arizona is going to take a tail back, trading away Goldschmidt. I think by the end of the year, Robbie Ray or Zach Greinke is probably going to get traded from Arizona. I think they're more sellers. I think the Giants are also going to start to tend to lean towards being sellers. And then if you look at LA, the Dodgers, that pitching rotation really scares me. Hill and Kershaw are both hurt. Walker Buehler's good. Yeah, they traded away Alex Wood. Julio Urias is getting back from Tommy John and starting to become like living up to his potential that he had before that TJ. But they're still like at their rotation, their bullpen. The pitching really scares me with LA. San Diego, like I did last year, and when I picked the Braves to come out of nowhere and win the division and be a year early, I think San Diego is going to be a year early, and they're going to fight and win the division this year.
Oh, sorry about that. My mic didn't want to come unmuted there for a second. It's, just being in San Diego, I think I'm going to have to, kind of ride this wave of optimism they have down here. We enjoyed our weekend down here. They have a beautiful ballpark, beautiful surrounding area, great weather. What's not there to love? They just need the better team to show up, and it's on the doorstep right now.
I think Fernando Tatis Jr. wins NL MVP. No, NL Rookie of the Year. I'm sorry, NL Rookie of the Year for Fernando Tatis Jr. I think Machado is going to be in the MVP race. And then I think Franmil Reyes, who's built like a shit brick house, is going to hit 35 home runs.
Right?
Yeah, that's that. Remember when we were at the stadium, I was like, hey, man, that guy's like 6'5", 270. Yeah, Franmil Reyes. I think he hits like 35 bombs this year. I saw him take Lester like 500 to deep center.
I think you sent me that GIF, and then, kind of a forgotten guy down there is Eric Hosmer, who signed a big off-season deal last year, and I know he's not a big name by any means, but he's a solid piece.
Yeah, they also went out and they got Ian Kinsler. Will Myers is still there. Francisco Mejia was a top 20 prospect. He's now firmly entrenched in the big leagues, and I think he's going to get better as well.
There's also Hunter Renfroe, not to be confused with that wide receiver, Hunter Renfroe.
Which Hunter Renfroe would you rather have? The catcher to go – no, the Hunter Renfroe, the outfielder, to be in the Boston Red Sox, or would you rather have Hunter Renfroe, the wide receiver, drafted by the New England Patriots?
Oh, give me the receiver to the Patriots. This kid was money down at Clemson. He was Deshaun Watson's go-to guy, and he was a big-time player in big games, so he can go right up to the slot factory in Foxborough. What kind of surprises me, though, about the Dodgers is they did make that big offseason trade, sending out Kemp, Puig, fan favorites, as well as guys that were starting to really, round their game out a little bit here. So, it's funny. We talked about the Reds. We completely forgot about Yasiel Puig being out there. So that shows you how highly we think of the Reds. But the Dodgers are taking on a bit of a new look. AJ Pollock signed a big deal to go over to LA. Again, it's just it's a very shallow team right now. Like, are you going to really rely on Muncy and Bellinger to really be your big RBI guys?
I think Turner was hurt last year, which kind of hurt them. I think Turner is a good player that he's going to be that guy in the middle of the lineup.
When does Corey Seager come back?
I think he's ready to go. I think he's going to be in the opening day lineup.
I expect him to take a couple months to get back up to full speed. So it's just I think the Dodgers are going to need some things to fall their way to get back into what they want to be. It's not going to be as easy as it's been in years past. And I say that obviously with a weaker Arizona team, but we don't know what we're going to see out of Colorado yet. We're very optimistic and high on San Diego. And then when we look at San Francisco, there's just not a lot to get excited about right now. Everything looks like it's, the glory days are behind them.
I think they're going to be big sellers. I don't want to say that they're going to trade Madison Bumgarner, but I bet you they listen to Madison Bumgarner deals. And if it makes sense, I feel like he might get moved.
Is Cueto on the shelf still? I believe he threw out his elbow, didn't he?
Yeah, I think it was Tommy John. I don't know when the timetable is for him to get back. Bumgarner is a free agent after this year, so that might be also something where they look to move him before they lose him, because I don't think they're going to go out and spend big money to re-sign Madison Bumgarner. Yes, he was the ace of that staff. Yes, the postseason magic, all the World Series heroics and whatnot. But they're not going to throw out $5 for $100 million for Madison Bumgarner when they're probably going to start entering rebuilding years, and they're going to waste away, 2, 3, 4 years of Bumgarner's career until they acquire assets and talent to get back to a level of competing. So Bumgarner, I think, is going to be somebody that might get moved. Will Smith in the bullpen, he's a good lefty. I think he's probably going to end up getting moved as well. I think he can definitely help a team like Boston, the Red Sox, where they don't have a closer. Will Smith can probably be a guy that you can get for a lower prospect that would 100% help that bullpen. Speaking of Colorado, I think Colorado is going to be the second place finisher in this team, which means LA misses the playoffs and they finish third. I know I predicted that last year, and it looked like it was going to happen last year as well, and then they went on that hot streak. I think Colorado's the second best team. Colorado and San Diego are thinking my two teams that are going to make playoffs.
Well, it's easy to pick the team that's been to 2 straight, World Series to, keep dominating. So what I do like about Colorado is they got a pretty good deal with Nolan Arenado staying there. So that's one guy locked up. It's a team built on bats, and that's just who the Rockies are always going to be. You're not going to get, shut down starting pitching, even though John Freeland is a pretty good pitcher.
Kyle Freeland.
What did I say?
John Gray and Kyle Freeland. You combine the two.
Yeah, that's how highly I think of Colorado's pitching situation. Even a year or the last offseason, they spent money on some bullpen guys, and again they just kind of tailed off towards the end of the year. Charlie Blackmon, I think, is still a good piece in your lineup, but can sometimes be a liability in the field.
They signed Daniel Murphy to play first. He probably hits like 340.
Oh, he will abuse that right field fence.
Yeah, he's probably gonna look really good in a Rockies uniform. He's not gonna have to play second. You can save his legs kind of and have him play first, and he's gonna be a good pickup for Colorado, I think. The guys that like Trevor Story is probably like last season. Trevor Story had a breakout season, had a really good season. I think he's going to continue that. I think he hits like 40 home runs. Like him and Nolan Arenado in the middle of that lineup is so deadly. They're both going to hit 35 plus home runs. They're both going to drive in 100 plus guys. Like those two guys are what's going to make this lineup go, and they're going to be so fun to watch on that left side of that infield.
It's also weird to see DG LeMahieu no longer there because I love that second short third run they had going, but I think Colorado will be just fine. So as far as hitters and pitchers out of this division, hitters give me Nolan Arenado every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And then pitching-wise, to this day, until he is no longer in this league, Clayton Kershaw.
Yeah, I would say Clayton Kershaw just because 15 starts of Clayton Kershaw is probably better than 25 starts of somebody else. But, I mean, that's only 15 starts. Clayton Kershaw, that honestly, give me Walker Buehler for the next 10 years. I think he's going to be that good. Kershaw is always the pick, but give me Walker Buehler just to go something different. And, yeah, I would probably say Arenado too. But since you did say Arenado, the next best guy, in my opinion, in that division is Manny Machado. And give me Manny Machado.
It's going to be a weird year in the NL West. I can tell you that for sure. We're going to spin things out a little bit. We're going to stay on the West Coast and start with the AL West. Mike Trout is not leaving, or at least teams.
Trout has so much money now.
It's absurd, and I know a lot of people bang, including me, bang on the Angels for not giving him a supporting cast to work with, but there's pieces there. And the first was make sure Mike Trout doesn't even leave, because there was starting to be a little bit of flirting about Bryce Harper wanting to recruit him back to his hometown in Philly. That's now shot down all the way, so good news, Angels fans. He's staying put. Sadly, this year we will not get a hype train appearance on the mound, but it looks like Shohei will be good to go as far as hitting duties are concerned. So they'll be okay in that regard. But the rest of the Angels, it's not looking good.
Justin Upton's going to hit. Justin Upton always hits. He'll be fine. Andrelton Simmons is a very, very good player. I like Andrelton Simmons. It's just the rest of that lineup.
Like there was, they had they finished a shade under 500, and finally Sosha decides to step down. So maybe that's what changes it.
They added Justin Bour. He's okay. He's gonna hit. He's gonna hit 20 home runs.
Justin Bour is the epitome of a softball player playing in the major leagues because both physique and playing style. That's all I see out of him. He's just here to bash.
They added Jonathan Lucroy. Jonathan Lucroy is okay. He's not gonna. It's not 2010 Jonathan Lucroy. It's 2019 Jonathan Lucroy. So, there's this team would be so good if it was like 2012. Rookie Mike Trout, Pujols, Bour, Lucroy. But yeah, the thing that really, really, really scares me is the rotation.
And not having Shohei Ohtani a part of it anymore just makes it look worse.
So their projected starting five is Trevor Cahill, Matt Harvey, Felix Pena, Tyler Skaggs, and Chris Stratton. I
feel like you made one of those names up.
So Felix Pena was a former Cub, and let me tell you, he did not turn heads.
Whew.
Matt Harvey is not the same Matt Harvey.
He's trying to hold on to whatever he can, so that might be a tough go of it for the Halos.
Trevor Cahill is in the rotation. He's going to be one of your starters. I don't know about that.
On to a better team. I really like how the A's are set up for this year. The A's, once again, find a way to churn out talent. They get to the playoffs last year. And once again, they're bounced out by the New York Yankees. But I think the A's are going to be another tough team again come 2019. Chris Young still swings for 40-plus home runs. Chris Davis. What did I say? Chris Young? Oh, yeah. Yep. Chris Young was the other one. So Chris Davis with a K, not Chris Davis with a C. Matt Olson and Matt Chapman. Not a bad combo at first and third apiece. Those guys.
Matt Chapman is going to have a top 5 MVP season. He's Oakland's version of Nolan Arenado. He's
not expensive.
He might be better defensively than Nolan Arenado. I don't know how you can say that, but
no, I think he is. I think you're dead on with that.
Which is crazy. Nolan Arenado is so good,
and now we are better.
Yeah.
They still have Blake Treinen at the tail end of their bullpen, so they will be able to close out games with one of the nastiest closers in the league. They're going to have a solid year, and outside of the next team we're going to talk about, they're pretty well set up top to bottom, but it's the Astros division.
Yeah, so with Oakland, they have the same problem as LA, as I don't know what they're going to get with their rotation. But the difference between Oakland and LA is Oakland has 2 top 50 starting pitching prospects that they can call up and give them that boost. AJ Puck and Jesus Luzardo need to start as the 4 and 5 starter in Oakland, and they need to just go out there and get runs. Because if they get a really good season from AJ Puck and they get a really good season from Jesus Luzardo, they're prime, they're set up, and I think they can take the Astros on.
It would line up in their favor, and we did see them, really give the Astros a run, come that home stretch of the season. So the A's, they're managed really good. They're a deep, versatile team. They can, beat you with either small ball. They've shown they can hit the long ball now. So I think it's just a matter of repeating that success. I'm just going to skip right over the Rangers because after Adrian Beltre retired, there's just not a lot of to talk about outside of maybe Joey Gallo, but I can't tell you much for the Rangers outside of that.
Does Joey Gallo have more home runs this season or more singles this season?
Do you think he'll even try to hit a ball down the third base line, like once?
I don't think so.
Like maybe if he's like, you know what, I'm in a slump, I need to get on base. Let me just push one down the right, like down the left field line.
I don't think he tries to hit one down the third base line. If he does, it's on accident.
He was accidentally late, but the Rangers, I think they're going to be a bottom 3 team in the majors this year. It's just very young, very inexperienced, just not a lot of cornerstones right now. A far cry from their World Series teams of the early 2010s.
Yeah, it's a rebuilding period in Texas now, pretty much.
So
not much there.
Staying in Texas, World Series contender and one of the favorites, the Houston Astros. They're running back a very good squad. Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve. This is one of the best infields in all of baseball. They still have Justin Verlander. They still have Lance, or do they still have Lance McCullers?
McCullers had Tommy John, so he's not going to pitch this season.
Yeah. So Houston's knock right now is how good can the pitching be without Dallas Keuchel in it right now, because it's looking a little thin right now. Justin Verlander's another year older. That's another year of 200+ innings on an already pretty heavily used arm. A great lineup, but it can be undone if their pitching doesn't show up.
One of their biggest strengths was their pitching, and now Charlie Morton has left in free agency. Dallas Keuchel left, but is still a free agent. There's still room for Dallas Keuchel to come back, I guess, if they really wanted to, and if money works and whatnot. And Lance McCullers had Tommy John, so it's a lot less deeper than it was literally just a year ago. Their bullpen is good. I like Josh James. I think he's going to be one of those next like bullpen guys that like just breaks out and just has like he throws 70 innings, throwing gas, and has a 2 ERA. And you're just like, wow, where did you find him? I think he's going to be one of those guys. Roberto Osuna has a lot of checkered past, some issues. If he moves past that, he's still a good closer. He just, had issues. Will Harris, Chris Davinsky, guys I still like that are in that bullpen that is going to contribute and be good guys. So the bullpen is fine. Rotation has a lot of question marks after Verlander and after Cole. The lineup is ridiculous. It's probably the best lineup in the league, more than likely. The top 4 guys are going to be like strong MVP candidates in Bregman, Correa, Altuve, and George Springer. So, I mean, the lineup's going to be fine. I still think they're the class of the division.
I think that's a safe bet to go with the Astros. So I like them. I like their makeup. It's just that we'll need some things to fall their way. Just because I don't think it's fair, let's pick a hitter not named Mike Trout for this division, because it's not fair when you're a generational talent.
Before you do that, do you want to talk about Seattle?
I completely groomed over Seattle, huh? Oh my!
We didn't talk about Seattle like a lick.
Oh wow! So the Mariners, they get rid of the Cano contract, and they essentially picked to start a rebuild, but their season has already started because Ichiro did decide to hang them up this year. So one of the best hitters of our lifetime finally calls it a career. One question I do want to ask you about Ichiro before we get into the Mariners: should his Japan stats count for his Hall of Fame resume?
Even if the Japan stats don't count, he's still a Hall of Famer. He had 10 straight 200-hit seasons in the big leagues. Mike Trout has 0 200-hit seasons in his career, and Mike Trout has multiple MVPs. Ichiro went 10 straight years of 200 hits in the big leagues. Like, even if you disregard his Japanese stats, he's a Hall of Famer, like bar none. First ballot, he should be like 95 to 99%.
There's always going to be that one that screws it up, but just think about this year's Mariners. They also traded away James Paxton. Like King Felix, unfortunately, it's looking like it's done for him or his best years are now behind him. There's just no buzz around this team. Like, if you're the Mariners, what do you have to look forward to?
What's crazy is, like, I think they're good enough to win games. It's just they're not good enough to be like above 500. Like, they're gonna win like 70-ish games, and they're gonna like look tempting. Like, oh, maybe we should be buyers at the trade deadline, and maybe we can go on a run. But like, they're going to be closer to the Angels than they are the Astros. The Astros are going to run away and win 100 games, and they'll win the division by like 20 games. But then, like, there's a chance that Seattle finishes second. Oakland could regress. The Angels are the Angels. Texas is Texas, and there's a chance like Oakland like wins 82, 83 games, and you're like, should we be a buyer even though they should be sellers?
There's Edwin and Carson Leone. There's D. Gordon, Mitch Haniger, Ryan Healy. I mean, there's decent guys here, but just
like Haniger is going to hit. Encarnacion's going to hit. D. Gordon's going to steal 60 bases. Like Ryan Healy's going to mash lefties. He's
like this literally, like I'm looking at their roster right now. It just looks like another typical Seattle team. Like a bunch of guys that can hit, but because of park dimensions, they might not hit as good as they should.
Yeah, and they're gonna go out and they're gonna win like 72, 73 games. And if they get lucky, they have a good season, they're gonna win 81, 82.
I was gonna say, look how good they started last year. They were so good in one-run games, and now the guy that was responsible for a lot of those and closing them out, Edwin Diaz, is now a Met.
They had to trade away Edwin Diaz to get off the Robinson Cano contract, which I hate that move, like 100%.
You never see salary dumps like that in baseball, and they're infuriating in basketball sometimes because you can lose someone like, I don't know, Kristaps Porzingis.
No, you can try to dump Timothy Mozgov's contract and end up trading away D'Angelo Russell, who becomes an all-star.
I was trying to stay away from that one.
Yeah, like you don't see those kind of trades in Major League Baseball, but you don't do that for a reason.
You don't do it for a reason because it's stupid.
Yeah, Edwin Diaz is like 24, and he's probably like the best closer under 25.
Probably is one of the livest fastballs.
Oh, it moves. It looks like a rising fastball. I know people have told me, and scientists are like, it's physically impossible to throw a rising fastball. Gravity doesn't work like that. But go watch an Edwin Diaz fastball. That's what it looks like.
That's what they also said about the gyro ball. But then I just found out it was pretty much a glorified circle change.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the point I was going to make before I rudely ignore the Mariners. Yes, the best hitter not named Mike Trout, I feel, should be. It's like, do I go with Altuve or Bregman? I'm going to say Bregman for this year because I think he's on a good trend right now.
You take Bregman, I'll take Altuve.
Fair enough.
If you would have took Altuve, I would have took Bregman. Bregman is, I think he's the guy that's going to be the next star.
I think he's right on that cusp. He's already got a World Series ring. I think he's going to really push the Chris Bryants, the Nolan Arenados for that like top billing as best third baseman in the majors. So pitching wise,
it's
Verlander?
It's probably Verlander, but I go Cole because Cole's 29 and he's in a free agency year.
Okay, fair enough. Well, we're on the same page. AL Central, a lot of young, inexperienced teams, and then you have the old guard in the Cleveland Indians. There's a lot of expectations for them to take back this division, but you have Minnesota, who is kind of reloaded a little bit. They're looking a little bit more determined. You have the Chicago White Sox, who are right now flush with young talent, but not sure how to use it yet, and they've already broken one of their guys. We don't know what they're doing down in Kansas City because poor Salvador Perez's arm is shut down, so it's kind of hard to play catcher without a good throwing arm. And I feel like I'm forgetting another team. Royals, Indians.
Detroit. You're forgetting Detroit.
Tigers. Mickey's back. That's what I really have. My big point about the AL Central is it's going to go through the Indians, but there's also a path that if things do not go good for the Indians, we could see them sell off anyone that's not traded, Jose Ramirez or Francisco Lindor. And yes, I'm including Trevor Bauer and Corey Kluber in possible trade scenarios.
They don't want to pay Bauer when they're paying Corey Kluber. They want to pay one of them. They don't want to pay both of them. So there's a chance that one of those guys is gone. I don't think it's going to happen just because of how weak the AL Central is, that they're going to waltz to at least a playoff spot.
A third of their games are going to be against teams that are either at or below 500, and that's just by virtue of like, well, these are our gimme wins.
Yeah, definitely. I still think Lindor is the best shortstop in the league. I don't think that in my opinion has changed on him from last year to this year. I think he's going to make a run at the MVP. He's going to put it all together. I think with all the extensions and whatnot that Lindor has seen, he's probably thinking like, I'm the next guy that's going to make $300 million for a total contract. And I think Lindor is going to be a guy that is going to be so much fun to watch this season.
And it's funny because he's pushed so much by JoJo at third base, and I love Jose Ramirez's game. Power, he reminds me so much of a young Adrian Beltre at times. Obviously, he doesn't have the same glove as Beltre did, but I think he has the mechanics and the tools to be on that plateau, and I think he's on a good trajectory right now. So, one question I did want to ask you about the Indians: did they miss their window? Did their title window already close?
I think so, because they are firmly behind the Astros, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. I think they're the fourth best team in the AL, and I think they've gotten a little bit worse.
Rajai Davis heroics go for nothing in 2016. Kind of looking at some of the other teams in this division, the Twins, the talent's always there on paper, but it just never seems to come up. We're hoping Byron Buxton can bounce back this year. Why are you high on him?
He is a very fast man. Good defender. Not sure what happens at the plate this year offensively. He can hit 20 triples. He can hit 20 total hits in the season. Like that. Either of those things are in play for Byron Buxton.
Everything in between, yeah, exactly, can happen for him. Surprisingly, they were able to land Nelson Cruz in free agency, so I'm not sure how well he can hit in that ballpark because that's stuff for power hitters.
He's gonna rake. He's still gonna hit. He raked at Safeco. Safeco?
Yeah. No. Or now it's T-Mobile Park.
He hit in Seattle in that park. Like he's still gonna rake it. He's not gonna stop raking.
I mentioned the White Sox do have young talent, but it looks like I believe it's Kopech who went down with the Tommy John, right?
Yeah.
He was on a good trend. He had a very live arm, so fortunately the White Sox are going to miss out on him for another year. They were also in the Machado sweepstakes. They were hoping to, bring in a big name to kind of, jumpstart fan interest, kind of get these young guys up and going, but that does come through. They still have Yoan Moncada, who was the centerpiece in the Chris Sale trade a few years ago with the Red Sox. I liked him as a prospect with the Red Sox, but he still hasn't really lived up to his billing yet with the White Sox. So hopefully he does get a leap this year.
Moncada has definitely stalled in his development. Hopefully he takes the leap, but from what I've seen from Moncada, it doesn't look like it's going to happen. The guy that they have, former Cub prospect Eloy Jimenez, is starting with the big league team. He's going to start in left field. I think Jimenez wins Rookie of the Year. I think Eloy hits like 25, 30 home runs, drives in like 85. He's going to show like mammoth power. I like Eloy Jimenez a lot.
Are the White Sox the redheaded stepchild of Chicago sports?
Pretty much.
Never would have thought. The Detroit Tigers, they get Miggy Cabrera back this year. They still have Michael Fulmer in the rotation. I just think that's going to be another team that they're going to have to decide when or if they want to sell guys off. I'll say right now, though, they're not going to be able to sell off the Cabrera contract because do you see how much he's owed this year?
Do you see how much he's owed for the rest of his career?
Yeah, it gets bad.
It's like Albert Pujols level of bad.
I mean, shout out Scott Boras for, getting this, ink to paper. But when Miguel Cabrera, who, is one of the better, or excuse me, one of the best hitters of this, current crop of talent, he just isn't the same player. He can't stay healthy. Like, unfortunately, his best years are behind him at this point. And why can I not find his contract information?
I
So,
think it's 5 for 90 that he has left.
okay, yeah. No, 30 mil this year, and then 30 2020, 30 for 2021, 32 for 2022 and 2023, and then 30 and 30 for 2024 and 2025.
Wait, he has 6 years for 150 left?
Yep.
No, 6 years for 180? 5 for 150. Oh, that's a lot of money. I hope he rakes. I hope Miggy hits like 340 with like 40 home runs, like 140 RBIs, and wins the Triple Crown. Everybody's like, what?
His Triple Crown year, he was only getting paid $28 million. He's now going to be making more to do far less.
To be honest, it was worth it. It was worth it in 2012. Not worth it in 2019.
Whew. I would love to talk to you about the Royals, but I really don't have much to go off of that. This is a team that's the glory's faded.
Whit Merrifield is a very good player. He's probably a top 5 second baseman off the top of my head. Maybe Whit Merrifield's top 5 second baseman. He signed an extension, which was very team friendly, very cheap, and I think the Royals should trade him. Alberto Mondesi is going to be a very good shortstop. Keep an eye out for him.
Very fast.
He's very fast. I think he's going to hit. Those two guys are going to be really good.
Billy Hamilton. Those can be good terrors.
So Kansas City is the fastest team in the league, and it's not football where you have like the fastest team in the league that's going to amount for something. But like Terrence Gore, Billy Hamilton, Adalberto Mondesi, and Whit Merrifield might combine for 200 stolen bases. Like they really might combine for 200 stolen bases. Merrifield's going to steal 30. Mondesi's probably going to steal 25 to 30. Hamilton's probably going to steal like 40. These guys are going to steal like 200 bases, but they're also probably going to win 50 games. So there's that. All
right, so we'll wrap it up here. I think me and you are going to be on the same page. One of us will pick JoJo Ramirez. The other will take Frankie Lindor.
Yeah, I'll take Lindor. You can have Ramirez.
I'll take JoJo. Pitching-wise, I still think Kluber's – I think he sells Cy Young stuff, so I'm going with Klubot.
I'm taking Bauer. I think Bauer finishes top 3 in the Cy Young.
Also nasty stuff. So
the Cleveland Indians rotation, all 5 of those guys are going to strike out 200 people.
Carrasco, Clevenger, and
Shane Bieber.
They do have a Biebs. They definitely.
And he's good. He might be the best Bieber in the world. He might be the most talented. That's the most talented Bieber in the world.
All right, so wrapping it up, the AL East. The Red Sox, the Yankees, 2 potential teams that can win over 100 games again. You have the scrappy Rays. You have the tail spinning, but with the young stud promising Blue Jays, and then the Orioles. We know this is going to be a 2-dog race, but don't discount the Rays to throw off one of these top 2 teams. Just from an outlook, you have the Red Sox coming off a World Series title, and they're bringing back a majority of that team. But at the same time, the Yankees filled in some holes and improved in some areas and are not ready to be pushed back down to the ground. This is going to be a fun race, but at the same time, it doesn't have a clear-cut winner yet. So
if I were given $100 to make a bet right now, I think the bet goes on the Yankees just because I don't like Boston's bullpen situation.
Oh, it's bad. Like we were talking earlier, it's funny about the Cubs about they're going to have to find some guys to kind of fill in some blanks here and, maybe hopefully someone figures it out in the bullpen. That's the approach the Red Sox have gone with, and it's a little scary considering they've invested money pretty much everywhere else but at the back end. And the bullpen was a little bit of a concern, or excuse me, not a little bit. It was a concern going into the playoffs and did rear its ugly head at times. Kimbrel even looked shook and a little bit out of sync, and he did get wild from time to time. And there's still some unproven or inconsistencies. And now you're going to be relying on the likes of Matt Barnes and Ryan Brazier. And how many chances is Tyler Thornburg going to get? Like, we're really doing this, guys? This is how we're going to defend the title with this at the back end? You can't score 7 to 10 runs every game. It doesn't work like that.
If there's one team in the league that could score 7 to 10 runs per game, it's the Red Sox. They won the World Series last year. I think they regress. Series hangover. It happens. It always happens.
Yeah, I think it's going to be not just that, it's a natural regression. You're coming off a literal franchise record season. Like, they won 108 last year. I think their best case scenario is 100. And even then, I still think they're going to realistically be between 92 and 95. And that's just, the objective baseball fan to be kind of looking like Chris Sale. He was pretty much non-existent the second half of the year. You don't know how well he's going to hold up. We don't know how much Nathan Eovaldi can give you because of his injury past. Porcello is very up and down. And then there's, David Price, who, if he's just having a bad day, you don't know what you're going to necessarily get. And I know we mentioned doomsday scenarios before. This is contract years for both Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and eventually Andrew Benintendi. They did lock up Chris Sale, but the window's still open for them to win another title. And I know Dave Dombrowski would be exonerated because he did deliver that one. But this is still a core where you can get another, and you're expected to get another.
If they just find a couple bullpen pieces, I still think that they're the class of the East. It's just right now, it's just I can't justify picking the Boston Red Sox, even though they came off a record season, even though they came off a World Series championship. I can't do it with that bullpen. And looking at the Yankees and looking at their bullpen, when they can throw Betances, Chapman, Chad Green, Adam Ottavino, there's a name I'm probably Zach Britton. They can throw 5 guys that can pitch 60 to 70 innings a year and have under a 3 ERA, and they can make it a 4-inning game, a 3-inning game if they really wanted to. That's one of the reasons why I'm picking the Yankees. I think Boston's going to be just in the thick. Just the vitriol, the hate that Boston has for New York is going to have them in the middle of the race, and they're not going to fall off the race just because of the hate for the Yankees. They're just going to win games just off pure hate.
Yeah, they will be competitive. They still have the talent to compete with the Yankees. It's just how long they can, keep it up for. Going towards the Yankees, they are starting the year without Luis Severino. We don't know how long he's going to be out for, but hopefully he does come back sooner or later for the Yankees' sakes. They're filling in with Gio Gonzalez in the rotation, but if there's a team that needs runs to support the starting pitcher, it's not bad to have the likes of Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, and Gleyber Torres, Miguel Andujar, a reborn Troy Tulowitzki, DJ LeMahieu. Like, these are great hitters in a glorified Little League park.
They need to – I think they have a good defense if Gary Sanchez is not behind the plate. DJ LeMahieu –
He's got to turn it around this year, because after finishing the year as abysmally as he did, he has to turn around.
What's crazy is Judge is a good defender. Hicks is a borderline Gold Glove.
Judge is taller than the wall.
Exactly. DJ LeMahieu has a Gold Glove.
He's playing first. They have him at first right now.
But then, Andujar is a negative guy at third defensively, but he's going to hit 30 home runs. And Sanchez is going to hit 30 home runs, but he's also a negative guy. And Stanton is okay as an outfielder. He's not going to allow you, but Stanton's also going to hit 45. It's such a weird team.
It's going to be interesting when Didi gets back, because you don't know what the arm's going to look like after a surgery like this. More times than not, I think he'll be okay. But it's just like I said, I'm going to keep an eye on it when he's back in the fold.
Yeah, and I don't know what you would do though. So like, would you play Glaber at short and then just go ahead and put like Didi at second?
I would have to look into it because how much offense do you really want to sub out? Because if these guys are, hitting this well to start the year, granted, we don't expect health to really play a factor into this, but unfortunately it will.
Like their best defensive second baseman is DJ LeMahieu, but then you got to pick between Didi and Tulo and Glaber and Andujar. And Andujar, if you play him at DH, which means you have to go ahead and start Sanchez at catcher, which Sanchez should be a DH 4 out of 5 games. Like the lineup construction is weird. There's going to be days where you pick the wrong guy and he's going to make 3 errors. The lineup is super weird, but the lineup is also super talented. The bullpen, I think, is going to win them a lot of games. That's the only reason why I pick them to win that division. Starting rotation, adding Paxton's big. Tanaka's still there. Having Tanaka go from like a number 2 guy to like a number 3/4 guy is big. Having Paxton, having CC, hopefully Sevy's healthy. That's a good rotation. Not bad. I still think the Yankees are going to win, but I don't know. There's doomsday written all over them, in my opinion.
I could see them using CC's, last season as their team rallying cry. I know he's been one of the main pieces and the only piece left over from their last championship team. I mean, it's been 10 years since the Yankees have won a title. That's a drought in their eyes. And I don't want to say they need to be patient with this team, but it's New York. They're going to push. You're the pinstripes. You're expected to be in the World Series. And the Red Sox flat out just pushed their face in the mud last year and essentially rubbed it in. And it culminated with them clinching in Yankee Stadium and outright stealing Frank Sinatra's New York, New York from them. It's a joke to the Red Sox. And, you think the Yankees would say, you know what? Nah, we're not taking this mess no more. Like, we're pushing back.
Who wins more games, Baltimore or Toronto?
Toronto, based on the virtue, I think they have viable major league talent. And when they make the right call and bring Vladdy Jr. up, then there'll be a lot much fun. It's just Baltimore right now they're quite a ways away from getting a rebirth of talent to come through because the pipeline is very young and very raw.
There's not a lot in the farm system for Baltimore.
Yeah, that was me being nice about it. There's nothing there. They are going to get abused by the AL East. The Rays, they lock up Blake Snell, who I think is the best pitcher in this division, and it's not close.
Wait, what?
I think he's that much reliable and that much more better than Chris Sale.
Wow. Blake Snell is good. He's on a very affordable contract, but I still take Sale over Blake Snell.
And I love Chris Sale. Okay. Wow. I love Chris Sale. I love that he got to close out the World Series. But part of me is just concerned about his durability. In all of it, he has not done a full start to finish season with the Red Sox without some kind of month and a half break. And I don't know if that's just how you have to manage him. That's fine. Someone like Snell, he doesn't have those issues.
Snell is also like 5 years younger, but sure.
I know there's other factors that go on. I'm just calling it like I see it. I'm being objective in this.
There could be a way where that was Snell's breakout season last year. That was his career year last year as well. That Snell might never hit those highs again in the Cy Young, even though I think Snell is going to because he's got a nasty curveball that's like he can throw for strikes and he can throw as an out pitch. Whenever you have a devastating out pitch that you can throw to get outs consistently, you're going to go far in the majors.
He also, and for the Rays' sake, he also terrorizes the Red Sox and the Yankees every start. So it's just a shame that, it's Tampa. They never get a lot of shine. mostly because their stadium's a hellhole. And you know how I feel about hellholes.
Tampa needs to move to Miami. They need to assimilate the Marlins. And then, like, a billionaire owner needs to buy the team and get an influx of cash.
Have them play each other in the Marlins and the Rays. Have them play in a 7-game series. Winner gets to stay in Florida. Loser's got to move to Montreal.
The literal owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars is like the 200th richest dude in the world. He's worth like $5 billion. That's the guy that needs to buy the Rays.
I mean, he essentially helped AEW get off the ground, so he's got money left over.
Yeah. Have you ever heard a story of what he essentially invented a part for a bumper? He essentially like invented a bumper that is used on like every like car that was made in the Midwest, and it made him so much money.
And now he owns the Jaguars.
Like,
and he spent that money on a quarterback.
Like, he literally bought a football team because he invented a bumper.
Only in America.
That's crazy to me.
Hitting wise, I cannot go against or say someone that is not Mookie Betts. I think he's going to contend for another MVP this year. So my bat is going to be Mookie's, and my arm, Blake Snell.
You take Mookie, I'll take Judge. Normally I would take Mookie, but since you already took Mookie, I'll take Judge just because. I'll take Sale since you don't want to take your own guy. I'll go ahead and take Sale.
Sailboat, sail day. Just for that, he's going to probably fan 13 Mariners on opening day. Last point on the AL East before we wrap this up. How much should Mookie Betts get in free agency?
How much did Harper get?
$325?
$330 for Harper. $330 for Harper, and then Trout got $430. So $360 seems like the fair number for Mookie Betts.
I just hope he does not even leave the state of Massachusetts.
But Lindor is probably going to get paid around the same time. If he waits for Lindor and Lindor gets like $350, Mookie's getting $400.
All right, so with all that being wrapped up, my World Series matchup, I'm saying it will be the Houston Astros and the Atlanta Braves.
Cubs versus Twins.
That was a very weird live stream I sat through, and I don't know if that like made me feel better or worse about this year. With that being said, guys, we are very excited to have baseball back this year. We will be bringing you content on the baseball season pretty much all summer long. Look for us going to ballparks, checking out some games here and there. Who knows where we might end up. You can follow the show on Instagram at Bleacher Preacher Podcast and on Twitter at Bleacher Preacher Pod. We are available on pretty much all podcast streaming networks except Spotify. We are currently working on a sponsorship from Dunkin' Donuts, but they have yet to return my calls, mentions, and or emails. So Tim Hortons, we'll get right back to you in a moment. You can follow me on Twitter at Jonathan_R.
Rob_BPP.
You can also see a video version of this podcast on our YouTube page as well. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. You guys have a wonderful baseball season, and go Sox.
Peace.